Hello and welcome to the Arkin Brothers Talk About Movies. This is the Arkin Brothers Talk About Movies. This is the Arkin Brothers. This is I'm Anthony. That's Matthew. That's my brother. That makes us the Arkin. Yes, and today we're going to be discussing and picking apart and simmering over 1995's Haine, starring Vincent Cassel and an amazing group of actors. And we have a special guest, so we're very excited. Stay tuned.
Talking about cocktails that are stylish, movies great or phony, and how Tony should win a Matthew, and Matthew should win a Tony. But in the meantime, talking about film in the meantime. The Arkin Brothers talk about movies.
Where did they find that footage of me doing that dance, I wonder? Oh, wait.
Are you getting residuals for that?
That wasn't me.
Are you getting residuals?
I can hardly walk, so, you know.
But back in 95, you could probably do all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I would think.
I was a breakdance king.
So, you know, how are you?
I'm good. It was quite a week.
You were let me see if I can guess. You were hosting events.
No, didn't host any events.
You were traveling. Where did you go?
Went to now don't get too excited. Went to Des Moines, Iowa, because who doesn't want to go to Des Moines, Iowa in December?
I've never been, so I really don't know. It could be great. I don't know.
We're actually in a little suburb of Des Moines, Iowa called Ankeny, at a place called Red Boot Distillery, where I have to tell you they know what they're doing, and we made 20,000 of these little mini airline bottles of batch 22.
You'll be able to purchase these at stores in Idaho?
No, you'll be able to purchase them in stores in California.
Oh my goodness!
And then we're going to be trying to get them into hotel minibars, and we'll use them for our sales force. And we're also in conversations with an airline, which would be pretty nice. So you may be able to get these in flight one of these days.
You seem a little more relaxed today than the last time I saw you.
Well,
and I like the way that you buttoned it up with a sip of coffee, because that is the signature move of somebody who feels pretty confident right now.
Little.
Because you literally went like this, and we did that, and then we did that.
Yeah, and
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. That's great.
I'm so happy. And while we were in Des Moines, things went so well that we went out to dinner with the owner of the factory. We said, where is the best steakhouse in town? And I have to tell you, when you say to somebody in Des Moines, Iowa, where is the best steakhouse in town? You better be ready to eat some steak, because in the middle of the country,
they know about steak.
Yeah. Like California, we may know our Mexican food and our sushi. New York, we may know our Italian food and our Chinese food. In Des Moines, Iowa, they know their steak.
All right. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm just saying I'm like 5 blocks from Peter Luger's right now.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't know how to make steaks here, though. So I'd like to have a steak off, see what's going on.
All right. Well, we'll do that. We'll go to Peter Luger's one night, and then the next morning we'll fly to Des Moines, and we'll go to the 801 Grand. We'll go to 801 Grand Steakhouse.
So you had a really special evening there. That sounds like a good meal.
Yeah, it was quite a meal. Great cocktails and a real, Midwestern old style fancy steakhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was
like from Miller's Crossing or something.
Yeah. Yeah, dark wood and just huge bar, great bartenders who really knew what they were doing, and it was an amazing evening.
Would you recommend a batch 22 on the rocks with your steak, or is that more of a before dinner cocktail thing you think about?
Before I would do batch 22 on the rocks. I would actually do a batch 22 cocktail before dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would do a batch 22 just neat after dinner.
Okay. And just pound scotch during the steak itself.
No, during the steak, I would do red wine.
No, I know, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But scotch would be good with steak too. So you had a great week. That's fantastic.
Week.
How
about your week?
Oh, it's been crazy, frenetic, busy. Getting ready to make a trip out to. I haven't told you this, but I'm coming out to LA. Gonna come out to the West Coast.
No way.
Yeah, gonna do that.
Will I get to see you while you're here?
I don't know. What are you doing?
That's what it's going to be like when you're here.
Yeah.
I'll clear my schedule for when you're here.
Okay. Well, I'll be there on Friday. Or
right.
Thursday. I'll be there on Thursday, actually. I was lying.
Well, I'll see you on Friday.
Okay. So I'm doing that, and prepping to shoot a movie soon. Little indie thing that I've been excited about doing for a while with my producing partner. And I'm getting ready for Christmas and a movie and teaching, well, it's more of the same.
You're going to Ohio to do that movie.
Yeah, we're going to be in Ohio for a bit.
Which will be like going to Iowa.
Well, I don't know. I've never been to Iowa, but I have been to Ohio, so I guess Iowa's probably pretty great.
It'll be somewhat similar.
Were you in Idaho or Iowa?
Iowa.
Oh, I've never even thought of Iowa. Yeah. I mean, I've never even thought of going there. So, yeah, interesting.
We were in.
Where
Iowa.
is it? Is it in Alaska?
Oh, Iowa.
Yeah, where is it?
Iowa.
It's in the Seychelles. Is in the wait.
It's in this. Yeah, and they speak French there in Iowa. They don't even speak English anymore. What
speaking
about what? Yeah.
We almost had a segue, but we don't need to.
Yeah.
Do it yet.
No, I wanted to know if you watched anything besides this movie that we're going to discuss. Anything else come up of interest? Wow.
Yeah, we've been watching a few. I'm trying to think. It takes me a while to. I didn't expect questions. I'm getting grilled here all of a sudden. Like, what is going on? I don't know what. We're just going to chat about a movie. No, I've seen some cool stuff. We've been watching that Chippendale show, which has some fun stuff on it.
It's about the two chipmunks, Chip and Dale.
No,
the cartoons.
No.
Oh
no, we got to get some better writers on this show. No, it's you know what it is, don't you? It's the new show about how Chippendales how it started. We're doing great today. This is going really well. It's about a male strip club.
Yeah. Speaking of strip clubs, I came up with a holiday themed strip club joke.
You don't want to know how I like. You're going to skip right to your pun. You're not even going to ask me how I liked the show that you asked me to bring up. What are we? What? Focus.
I got excited about my stupid joke.
No, I understand. It's a great. It's exciting. It's exciting time. No, it's a good show. I just wanted to say Camille Nanjiani is really great on it. It's a interesting story I didn't know anything about. It starts off really powerfully, and like most shows, it tapers off into a little bit of a soap opera. Which, if you like shows, I guess that's why people like shows. I don't, but I like the setup and the cast, and the stuff is great. It goes on too long, like every show. It's like by episode 3, I'm like, can you wrap this up? Can you please just keep it going here? And
that's funny because our show goes on too long, even in the first episode.
Different kind of show, different rules apply. YouTube, man, anything can happen. It's exciting, it's fresh, and it's alive.
Yeah.
So
and okay, now can I tell my joke?
Please.
What do Santa's elves ask the dancers to do when they go to a strip club?
I'm not gonna be able to answer that.
The
What?
North Pole dance. There you go.
Just for the record, I'm not laughing because Matthew already emailed me this joke earlier.
Did you laugh
today.
when I mailed it to you, or did you just shake your head in shame and dismay?
It was a chuckle and then a bit of a like,
And yelling at me in French.
I'm just ashamed of both of us.
Yeah. All right.
Speaking of French,
this movie.
would you like to? Should we, speaking of French, segue into the French film that we saw?
Yeah. I do have to say, before we start, I didn't understand a word of this movie.
It's like those French have another word for everything.
Yes. Yeah.
It's true.
And it took me a long time to realize, I should put on the subtitles because they're not.
Yeah. Right. It's going to be a scintillating conversation, isn't it? About art cinema.
We're going to get serious.
Where's the closed caption button in this damn thing?
We have an expert coming on today.
We have somebody on the show who I am so excited to talk to and to see, who I haven't seen. I couldn't be more thrilled and surprised that this was their recommendation for us to talk about. That's all I'm going to say right now.
I'm feeling both pride and shame at the same time. Pride that it is my daughter who picked this as one of her favorite movies of all time, and shame that none of the stuff that would have led her to pick this as a great movie are things that she learned from me.
I'll say that is a true statement.
Right.
I can, after having talked cinema with you for 2 years, I can guarantee you that is a true statement.
You know that this wouldn't be a movie that I'd call you up and say, "Hey, my God, have you seen La Haine?"
La Haine's good, but have you seen Three Amigos?
Yeah, right, exactly. Because that's the kind of idiot I am. And
come on, don't name call. Don't do this to yourself, please. You are a very, very good guy, and
that's what I'm doing to myself right now, using myself as a punching bag.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Should we bring her on and she can explain what this movie is about to us?
Please.
There she is, my daughter, Abby Arkin. Welcome to the show.
Hello. I muted my mic because I didn't know if you could hear me before, so I fixed it.
We can hear you now.
We can hear you now. You're here.
Yay.
Everything's wonderful. So this movie, one of your favorite movies or your favorite movie?
It knocked my favorite movie off the top of my list, and I think it replaced it.
And what was the favorite movie before this? Tangled, right?
It was actually Drive with Ryan Gosling.
Whoa! All right, Abby, the first thing I need to say is that you and I have to start a movie club together. Okay, and start our own podcast about movies.
Okay.
I want to keep doing this one, but I really do need to. We need to have movie conversations now. Okay. I didn't realize this, so yeah. Okay.
My
Drive and this. I'm not blown away because that it's impossible or crazy. It's just so. It's so much. I'm so excited, is what it is.
I'm so excited.
Okay, I'm pulling it together here.
Dégage de mon lit où j'ai jamais vu vous fumer de la drogue là.
Vas-y, dis-lui, après je t'égorge. Et puis après je t'attrape pas les pieds et je te pompe pour que tu t'étouffes avec ton sang.
Mamie!
Exactly the kind of movie I thought you'd love. Yeah. Now, do you have questions, Matthew, or should I start? I don't know how I'm.
Well, my first question is how did you come across this? Is it your boyfriend who's studying film? There you go.
He had tried to we watched this trailer a very long time ago, actually, a few months ago, and the trailer is amazing too. I thought it was super cool, but I was like, I didn't pay attention to it. I didn't really think about it when he showed it to me. I wasn't like really focused. And then we watched it again a few months later, and I was like, why didn't we watch this? Like, it kind of slipped my mind. And then we watched it, and I was obsessed with the directing, with the acting, because I've seen the lead in other films, and he's super young in this. So I thought that was kind of cool, seeing him as a younger actor do what he liked to do then. So yeah.
I'm just sort of in shock here because I feel like I've missed about 14 years of your life, in that we went straight from Dad, Pitch Perfect 2 is coming out, we've got to go see it, to my favorite movies are Drive and Haine. And I saw no steps, no evolutionary steps between Pitch Perfect 2 and Drive and Haine.
Well, I do still love Pitch Perfect.
Oh, okay. Are you going to see them? Pitch Perfect 4 is coming out. What's his name in Berlin? The guy.
Oh, no. It's a stretch.
Okay. So we're not going to see that when
Let
you
it
come out.
rest.
When you come out here in 2 weeks with West, we're not going to see Pitch Perfect 4.
We could see Bones and All.
Okay. All right.
Which I've already seen.
So, okay.
I'm going to lateral to Tony. So that
Yeah, please, let me at this, please. Hold on 1 second. So when did you first see Lahaine? When?
2 weeks ago.
Okay. How much European cinema had you seen before Lahaine?
Not much.
Not much. Okay. Like, can you give me a couple of other foreign movies that you'd seen before?
Climax, which was
you went right to Gaspar Noé? Oh, because
yeah.
of the dancing. Yeah.
Which
Gotcha.
was amazing,
Okay.
But the rest of it was.
It's a great movie, but Noé is really messed up, and that's hard to take. So you went right to the weird stuff. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm reading All Quiet on the Western Front, so I started the beginning of that, the new one, not the old one yet. I'm sure I'll get to it to the original, but I started the remake, and then I was like, I shouldn't finish this without finishing the book, so I put it on pause.
Okay, and that's a German film, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. The original's amazing too, actually. It's cool, and it was directed by the same guy that directed the movie we talked about last week, Rain. And it's got some cool stuff in it. Okay, so this is, and so what? Can you give me American films that you liked? So,
what's going on there?
Technical difficulties. What about Drive? So when you'd seen Drive, you see Drive recently, or was that like more when it? Okay, and movies like American movies like that, like gritty crime, really cinematic movies like that. When did you start liking movies like that? Because I also missed this jump. I remember, Minions being big, and I remember, Frozen, and now here we are at Lahaine. So I'm just trying to chart the trajectory.
Well, I started really liking horror movies when this is kind of a younger person horror movie. When the remake of It came out, I was really excited because there was all those actors that were like popular.
Right, it's a great gateway horror movie. Yeah,
it really is. That I mentioned Bones and All before, but which is pretty new. But I saw that twice, and it was amazing.
That's the new Luca Guadagnino movie.
Yes.
Right, and you liked it.
I loved it.
Okay.
I absolutely loved it. And what else? I don't know, but the horror movie jump kind of brought me, and then I was like, I'm bored with I got bored with the jump scares, and I wanted some more psychological stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So the jump, you realize how cheap the jump scares are at a certain point.
Yeah. And
you're like, anybody can do this. It's just kind of silly. But getting into your mind is a whole other trip.
A big one that took me into psychological was I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which is on Netflix.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Abby! It's cool because I think you're the first person that has mentioned this movie to me, and I've been talking about it since I saw it. And I just think it's a masterpiece. I think it's fantastic.
I was so confused the whole time.
Yeah.
And I was watching it with somebody who had already seen it, and like she didn't spoil it for me, but she did like help me out a little bit, saying like, oh, did you notice this? Did you notice that they're doing this? So I kind of caught on to details earlier. I feel like that's a movie that you would need like multiple watches to really understand what's going on.
Probably so. I mean, I remember it's one of those rare movies that the more you understand, the scarier it gets.
Yes.
Unlike usually where the more you understand, you're like, oh, I'm not scared anymore.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And it gets worse the more you know. Such a good movie. Alexis, our producer, is also agreeing. Charlie Kaufman's movie. He's incredible. Okay, so you have just like hit the ground running just with the really interesting taste in movies, which I think is fantastic.
I guess it kind of skips a generation. I mean, she passed me by.
Mom is like Shakespeare in Love, and I'm like,
wow. And I'm all Notting Hill, So.
Yeah. I'm not even going to say what I am, but okay. So, okay, Haine, what was your first experience when you saw it? Did you see it all in one go?
I didn't actually. West was just hanging out at my house, and I was like, let's start this now. And he like had to go home at some point, and we paused it, and he said to me, this is actually the best point to pause it because this is like the flip. Like we paused it right when shit was about to hit the fan.
Okay.
So I kind of saw like the friendship part of it, and like I learned their relationship, and then we paused it, and then when we started it again the next day, it was like all the drama.
Right. Okay. All right. I accept that. And I have a bone to pick with him only in that, like pausing a movie that's one of these like 24-hour movies where it's all happening in a day feels to me a bit of a sin. I'm only going to say sin. It's just a sin, but that's okay. All I can say is thank you for getting me to see this movie. I'd never seen it before. I knew when it came out. I heard about it. There are a couple people I don't know if I know anybody other than you who is its favorite movie, but I've listened to podcasts where other film theorists have said it's their favorite movie. So I knew it was a big film, and I knew Criterion had put it out, and I knew it was an important movie, and it was kind of a blind spot for me. I had not seen it. Kind of embarrassed to say. It was one of those movies that if somebody had asked me, I probably would have gone, "Oh yeah, I saw it, but a long time ago. I don't really remember it." But it blew my mind. Like it absolutely, completely blew my mind. And your reaction to me saying that proves how good the movie is, because it's so good you don't have to go, right, isn't it great? It's like it speaks for itself. Yeah. I think completely.
It really does.
And I don't, I don't praise stuff lightly, but it's just I was embarrassed not to know. I was embarrassed that I didn't know it. I was embarrassed that I didn't have a poster of it in my room when in the 90s when it came out. Because in 95, this would have hit me like a ton of bricks, Yeah. Not that it didn't now, but if I was in my 20s and saw this movie, it would have been the only thing I talked about.
It made me laugh. It made me want to throw up at times.
Yeah. And the dancing. There's a dancing connection too, because you like dance, right? You're somewhat into dancing.
I dabble. In the art.
That's because Abby can do all that. Abby is quite literally one of the best dancers that you will ever see. She's going to take over the world, and that's a true statement. So Was the dancing something that Wes was trying to sell for you as to see this movie? No?
No, it honestly kind of just came as a plus. I was like, oh, that's really cool when we saw it. I know that
'Cause it's
when we saw
great.
Climax, the dancing was like all the sell because I was
Yeah.
terrified of everything else.
Right.
But this, it was just kind of like a cool ad because I was already loving the movie, and then there was like a breakdancing scene just popped up.
Yeah. And like a great one.
Yeah.
Like
an
one
awesome
of the best ones ever, you know?
Yeah.
Because I love how it contextualized within, like, you're not just seeing like usually dance like that would be used kind of like in a studio space, like in a make-believe environment, almost like a dream of the characters. But
Yeah.
putting this it's just in the room with other people watching them dancing and commenting on it, I thought was incredibly cool.
Yeah.
So what's your do you have a favorite performance?
Après que tu donnes ta joue, tu te fais niquer ta mère et puis c'est tout. Alors tu me laisses, vas-y, bouge. Hé, de quoi tu parles, sans déconner? Tu viens de braquer un truc avec un flingue de flic, tu aurais pu te faire tuer, lui aussi.
Ça fait vraiment du bien de chier un coup. Vous croyez en Dieu? Il faut pas se demander si on croit en Dieu, mais si Dieu croit en nous. J'avais un ami qui s'appelait Grunwaldski.
That's my favorite performance. I love it.
That performance and that scene, the whole Grunwaldski story is just. There's actually two scenes in the movie that I love the whole movie, but there's two scenes in it that stand out for me. Two performances and scenes: the Grunwaldski section and the drunk helping them jumpstart the car.
It's great.
That whole sequence, just unbelievable little pieces.
I think that what would be my favorite? See, do you have a favorite sequence, Abby, other than the what you've mentioned? I mean,
What do you mean?
Well, we talked about the dancing, but is there
like a favorite part from the movie?
scene, like a favorite interaction or a scene or sequence?
I think one of it's not as cheerful as my dad's were, but one of the scenes that I thought were like kind of groundbreaking was when the two two of the three boys get taken in by the cops, and you actually get to see firsthand what they're talking about throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
On the people that you've now built a connection with, you have to watch them go through it. So
Yeah.
Parce que tu sais que dans 2 heures, ils sont peut-être sortis, ces deux-là. Alors, faut en profiter parce que. Hein? Faut en profiter? Hein? Hein? Tiens. Non, juste comme ça, regarde. Non, comme ça, voilà, comme ça, regarde. Voilà.
yeah, I thought that was an incredible performance.
I think
Really- A really
my-
disturbing moment, and the other part of that scene that really disturbed me was the performance by the younger cop who's sort of in training, and they're showing him how it's done, and you can see that he's totally not into it at the beginning. Like, he's objecting, he's not okay with it, and then by the end of it, that look that he gives to Hubert when they stare at each other, you can see that he sort of maybe has crossed the line and would become somebody who does that to a suspect.
Yeah.
And see his conversion makes that scene all the more disturbing.
It's almost like at the beginning he's like, this is not what I thought we were doing, and then he's like, but I now, maybe this is who I am now. This is the job I'm taking, so if this is how they do it, maybe it's just something I have to do.
And he's on our side at the beginning of the scene. He's kind of a good guy, and by the end of the scene, he's not on our side anymore.
Yeah.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah.
I think one of the cool things about it too, for me, was that, it's a really uncompromising movie. Director Mathieu Kassovitz, who directed one movie before this called Café au Lait, starring one of the actors from this, the guy who plays Hubert. And
Kunde.
Yeah. The thing I think that I kept thinking about was how uncompromising the director was in showing everybody's levels of humanity. Like these three guys that we're following around, they're likable. We like them, and to different degrees, we like them or feel safe with them.
Yes.
But they all do kind of terrible things also throughout the movie, and none of them are without some kind of blood on their hands or some kind of participation in this hate.
Yeah.
You know, because the movie it's just named Hate. It's not named like, you know, Bad Cops or the riot at that's, you know, such and such street. It's like, it's just called Hate. And I found that to be the bravest thing about the movie. Like the sequence where the three of them are hanging out in Paris for the night and they don't really have a way to get back home and they don't have money and they're kind of killing time. They go to an art gallery. You don't know why at first, but they're at an art gallery and you're like, oh, fun. They're gonna, you know, kind of show up the bourgeois and like, and they do, but the way they do it is just absolutely heartbreaking. They all do things to these two young women at the art gallery that is motivated. I understand it, what their psychology is, but it's just awful. And and then it turns out that they were stealing a wallet there to get money to go. So there was a reason that they were doing it, and you feel their anger is justified, but they are taking it out on the two people, like the last two people that deserve it. And so I think that kind of viewpoint is a rare thing in movies where everybody is very happy to make kind of an op-ed film about how bad things are with the cops, for instance, without looking at the humanity throughout, without giving us that close-up of the cop that is horrified at what they're seeing and then changes and has to, you know, becomes one of them.
And I feel as the movie goes on, you feel like you said about the name of the movie, you kind of feel the hate. They have all this hate for the cops, right? But you kind of like feel it seep through them and make them a little bit, I don't know the word, just like deceitful.
Yeah.
And especially when Hubert is like, oh, what are you going to do? You're just going to go shoot them? Like, you're just going to go shoot a bunch of cops? Because that's such an unbelievable idea. And
Bougez pas! Qu'est-ce que tu fais?
and it's so
But going back to what you were saying, Tony, about, you know, the scene in the art gallery, another scene that had that same effect is when they're on the subway, when they're on the metro, and there are people lower down on the rungs of the ladder than they are, and they treat them like.
Vas-y, moi aussi, mon père il est en prison, ma mère elle est en prison, mon frère il est en prison, ma soeur elle est en prison. Vas-y, il travaille, il fait comme tout le monde. Putain, qu'est-ce qu'ils ont tous aujourd'hui? C'est le carnaval là, wesh.
Yeah,
there are these guys who are scrabbling for money and are unemployed and can't make a living, and then they're telling a beggar on the train, go get a job like everybody else.
It's a tough movie that way. It's really uncompromising, and it doesn't let anybody off the hook. And I mean, it also clearly the politics are like, this is hard. Like this is horrid. What's happening to these poor kids in the like the outskirts of Paris. I don't know how far outside of Paris this is supposed to be. I'm guessing like 40 minutes outside of Paris or something.
Scarsdale. It's the Scarsdale of Paris.
Right.
And then there's the thing being held over you the entire movie of like the person they know. And he's kind of saying like, oh, what are you going to do? You're going to shoot the cops? And he's like, no, I haven't decided that yet. It depends what happens to Abdul.
Yeah.
He said, if they're going to test us, if they're going to press some of our buttons and take our men, then we might just have to do the same thing to them. He's so angry. So.
Yeah. and he can't, you know, well, I don't know what he can or can't do, to be honest. I mean, I think that I've never seen a depiction of this kind of situation or scenario or the aftermath of some kind of you know, humanitarian kind of crisis like this depicted this well ever. I can't, you know. And I mean, maybe there are films or certainly documentaries that get you more specific details that can, you know, show you maybe where you can help out or do something. But in terms of just what it must feel like to live through 24 hours of this kind of a scenario, I feel like you know, emotionally, you just feel like you've been put through it by the end of this movie. It's so Shakespearean and so simple too. It really does kind of feel like almost like a Shakespeare play.
Yeah.
Moi, si Abdel il y passe, je vais rétablir la balance et je te shoote un keuf.
It's weird, you know what? Like, talking about great movies is hard.
Yeah.
It'd be easier if there was some really terrible parts of this. I read an article, like, I don't want to get into the politics of this because it's too heartbreaking. Obviously, this could have been made yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and that's the fact that this came out in 95 and it looks it literally could be made yesterday. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
You know,
when there's reviews in the trailer is like it holds up even better now than it did when it came out.
Yeah, and that's a horrible thing. That's, you know, we need to you know note that, but I'm not equipped to talk the depths of that political discussion.
Right.
But what I am amazed at too is the cinema making on display here. Is the filmmaking also, you know, and that's a little easier to discuss because as a statement about this stuff, I don't know. There's nothing left to say after seeing. I don't know what to say or how to comment. But the movie making going on is beyond belief.
Yeah,
it's beyond belief. Like, just as a movie, you know, everybody talks about how heartbreaking it is and the politics and the deep and it's resonant today. Yeah, all that's true. But you're also, it sounds like homework when we put it that way. It sounds like you're in for a bad night, right? And that's not true. It's, you know what it is to me. You've seen Do the Right Thing?
I haven't, no.
Okay. I would urge you to see that movie as soon as possible.
Okay.
Because this...
Well, I have nothing to do today, so I'll probably do
it. This to me very much is like an answer to that film. I don't mean in an argument. I mean like a call and response, you know, kind of answer. The filmmakers obviously had seen and had dealt with Do the Right Thing, because Do the Right Thing came out in 89, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, producers. But so this is years later, but the influence of that movie can be seen all over this, and it'll be fun for you because you'll get to contextualize some of the filmmaking going on in it too. And you know, the right thing. Oh yeah, they're saying here Vin's ring might be an homage to Do the Right Thing, Love and Hate rings. There's jewelry in Do the Right Thing that's really key and important in it. It also takes place in 120.
Zooms in on his ring to introduce him, kind of.
Yeah. It also takes place in 24 hours. It also, you know, and it doesn't focus on a group of friends going through this experience like in you know, some kind of Greek tragedy. It's the whole community, but there's so many similarities, and that's very much a colorful film. It's like vibrant, saturated colors, and this is obviously black and white, but it almost feels like that. It's just an answer to it in a lot of ways. You're gonna dig it.
This was shot in color, and then he decided he wanted it in black and white.
Apparently they said they wanted to see how the reviews were, and if it didn't do well at the box office, they could re-release it as a colorized version and make more money, which is really smart, actually. Yeah. That's it's pretty clever.
But the black and white is so.
It's perfect choice for this.
So good.
It's a perfect choice.
going back to the movie making, this is just kind of like a funny story. I was like obsessed with the dolly zoom of I don't think it's Hubert. I think it's the other two boys. I just thought that was one of the most beautiful shots.
It's incredible.
I also-
like,
It's
I also wonder, just watching it, I also wonder how the heck they did it, because that's an elevated train platform. So I'm wondering where the heck was the space to lay the track to do the dolly part of
Right.
the dolly zoom.
They
And
only have
then-
to track about 20 feet. They probably closed off the tracks and laid track across, crossways across it.
Okay.
But that was a reason that me and West, there's a scene in Bones and All where there's this like 5-minute zoom in, and I like thought that it was a dolly zoom, and he was like convinced that it wasn't, and we went back and watched the entire movie all over again for the last 5-minute shot to find out if it was a dolly zoom or not.
That sounds like
And it
me.
was not.
I would do
I
it.
was
And it was
wrong.
not. It was just a zoom.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But it was like it was funky, like it was cool, and there were I don't know, there was movement in the back that made me think that it was a dolly zoom of like it's spreading instead of just coming forward, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But
so
Dolly
yeah.
zooms are so cool.
They're so cool, and they're people use them more and more. For a while there was only like Jaws and a couple, like 1 or 2 movies that used them that people talked about, and now
Right.
they're using them more. But this is like probably the most elegant one I've ever seen. I really think it's fantastic, and it kind of feels like it comes right in the middle of the movie. Is that
Yeah.
true? It's literally feels like it's right in the middle.
It's when they go to Paris. It's when everything shifts and they go to Paris and they're in a new environment.
And that visual depiction of shift is just fantastic.
If you're into dolly zoom, there's some great dolly zoom stuff in the diner scene in Goodfellas, right?
Yeah, I think there might be one in Goodfellas.
The
I don't
diner
know.
scene with De Niro and what's his name? The young guy in Goodfellas.
The young guy.
The young guy. What's his name?
Oh, Spider?
Yeah.
Spider?
Ah, ton frère vient de me piquer une merguez.
Pas vrai, tu mens, tu mens. Hein.
Regarde-le, il a dans la bouche.
Tu mens. Tu mens, ton épouse, Pinocchio, tu mens.
Full of amazing actors, this movie too. And it really was, I felt like after seeing it, I had to remind myself that they were excuse me, that they were actors.
Right.
There's actors I'd seen in a bunch of movies and who went on to be in a ton of things. And, that scene with the cops on the roof, for instance, is a good example. There's like 3 actors I've known from other movies in there. I didn't recognize them until way later. I was like, oh my God, that was them. It just feels like a doc. Did you ever see Battle for Algiers?
No.
That's another interesting movie that's got some of the same DNA in it.
Speaking of Goodfellas and De Niro, the taxi driver reference of him in the mirror.
Yeah.
I was wondering, that was my first note, and as I was taking notes on this movie was, did Abby get the taxi driver reference? Because I didn't know. I mean, that movie was so long before you were born.
Yeah.
But your boyfriend is studying film, so I should have known that you would know Taxi Driver.
I think there's another Taxi Driver reference, a slight one, with the drunk guy who comes to the car when they're trying to steal it. It reminded me of Scorsese in the back of the taxi, drunk, when they're scoping out the place.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you have
There's one other shot I want to mention that I thought was amazing, where they have 2 couples in the shot. They have 2 guys in the foreground having a conversation, right in the foreground. And in the background, between them, we see 2 other guys having a conversation. And it's the conversation in the distance that we're hearing.
Yeah, I made a note of that. That's genius.
With such an amazing shot.
there was genius editing and sound work going on, very, very subliminal and also very handmade. You know, I mean, this is in a period of filmmaking that I love partly because I was a young, 20-year-old something in the 90s, and that style speaks to me. I love stuff shot on film. I love the handmade quality of it. I love how everything's not stabilized and perfectly glossy and high def. I just that aesthetic appeals to me. And I think the reason it appeals to me is partly that it feels like it's really happening. Like there's a danger things might not work.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they really just captured that perfectly. I think my favorite scene, the one that says more about the movie than any one other scene to me, the main characters aren't even in. And it's the scene where the DJ is in the top of the apartment block in his apartment, and he turns his speakers out to the window, and he starts doing his work and playing for the neighborhood after these riots, and the camera just comes out his window and has this unbelievable drone shot before they had drones. So
That's
it's like
what I was going to ask. I had that in my notes. Was that one of the earliest drone shots? Because
that's my favorite scene in the movie. They didn't have drones then, but it's an homage to other movies that did similar things, like I Am Cuba has one. Santa Sangre, the Jodorowsky movie, has another shot in it that's just like, wait a minute, you didn't have a helicopter because you don't have money for that, and you didn't have drones then, so how are you doing it? Amazing. Just staggering. Love this movie. Vincent Cassel. Can we just rhapsodize about him for a second?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know his work, Matthew?
no, he doesn't speak English, so I haven't seen a lot.
He's English. He's done movies in English.
No, I know. I'm being an idiot, as I do. That's my job on the show, is to be the idiot. I'm the
Alexis is saying,
I'm the Ed McMahon to your Johnny Carson.
Alexis is saying the DJ in the window also might be referenced to the Radio Raheem and Do the Right Thing and the Boombox. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this movie is talking to 100 other movies too, which is one of the things I love about it, that it doesn't just go, I'm talking about important things, so I'm going to be boring and to hell with you. Like, this is important subject matter, so just sit here and listen to this important subject matter. Well, it also goes the extra mile to make the experience completely dynamic, and completely cinematic, which I just never see.
Yeah, I was going to say, and beautiful to see. Yeah, like visually.
I just never see that. What were you going to say, buddy?
Well, you're talking about not taking itself too seriously, even with the serious subject matter, is that take that the guys do when the old man comes out of the toilet in the bathroom. They have this incredibly comic take in the middle of this scene, and then lead into one of the most profound stories in the movie, profound and upsetting stories in the movie, the Grunwaldzki story. But he's not afraid of having the comedy in the middle of that. No. Yeah, it's the fact that this guy, Mathieu Kassovitz, the director and writer, he's also an actor. I've seen him in a lot of other things. He's been in a ton of movies as an actor. I think he had a reputation as an actor before he started making movies. I don't know. I'm embarrassed that I haven't seen it until now, and I'm also confused why it's not, and he's not a much bigger thing now. Mm-hmm. I really don't quite get it. Particularly because of another issue. I read an article about the movie this morning, which blew my mind. It was like, I don't remember where it was. It was in maybe Vox or something, but they were reviewing the movie again when it kind of came out on Blu-ray or something, maybe 2 years ago. They had a re-release of it, or a restoration of it. And it got re-reviewed very positively, of course. I think it has 100% tomato reading, which I don't believe in any way or care for, but it just goes to show you this movie has a lot of very
big champions.
IDK, yo!
That's just that distracted the thought right out of my head. I don't now have a clue
One of the greatest
what I was saying, because that line reading is too profound for me to continue.
Oh dear.
I forget what I was going to say. I deserve that, but thank you.
Oh dear. You know, I the other thing about this movie is that it was so good and so important and so profound that I did not I looked at some trivia for it, but I didn't do a double feature. I didn't do a how to watch. I certainly didn't do a recasting, and I didn't talk about who we are. I didn't do any of our little cute things with this movie. Because
I did.
I had too much respect for it.
I have too much respect not to.
You did all the things?
I did the things, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I did them particularly well, but I did them.
Well, all right. Let's hear.
All right, let me pull up my notes. Okay, I think realistically, here's where you and I appear.
Mais de quel New York tu parles? C'est ça la mode à New York? Tu te fous de ma gueule ou quoi on dirait?
Yeah.
I think that I'm the drunk guy at the car. When they're trying to steal the car.
I will go with that.
I think I would have auditioned for that part. I might have gotten it, maybe, unless they offered it to a star, which I think they did here.
Yeah.
But I'd be in the running. It's within the realm of possibility. You are clearly the art gallery owner who comes to try to help the women who are getting abused by our main characters, and then gets rudely shoved away. I think there it is. The Haine, about two brothers.
I'm glad to know what you
Jeez,
think of me.
that looks like Riot on Cell Block 3 right there. We look like tough guys.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know how you did. Thank you, Ilya, for making that happen.
That was. Agent told me she wanted some unshaven tough guy shots, and boy, has it had an effect on my career.
Well, just you wait. This New Year is going to be great for your tough guy career.
Okay. Great.
Before I get into my silly notes, I just wanted to, because you said you didn't look at the trivia, and there are cool things about it. You know that.
I did look at the trivia. I had two things in the trivia.
Oh, okay. You said that you didn't look at the trivia, so now I'm confused.
Was one thing that I looked at. It was all the other stuff. I did look at the trivia. I didn't do any of the other stuff.
Okay. So apparently, real police officers were so offended by this film that they turned their backs on the cast and crew when they arrived at Cannes. That the security forces just turned their backs on everybody who was involved in this movie when they went on the red carpet. They're so tough when they do that. Oh,
they are. Yeah.
How dare they? They'll turn their back on you. Cafe, his first movie in the art gallery scene, which is I have to see now. I have to see Cafe Au Lait. I got to see everything this guy did. So anyway, those are our parts in the movie. I'm going to recast it.
Oh wait, my trivia. What about my trivia?
I'm sorry.
Jeez, Louise. Well, the We've Met Before, haven't we? In the art gallery, they starred in Cafe Au Lait. That woman.
Oh, that was okay.
She says to him, "Have we met before?"
Right.
That may have been a reference to that movie.
You, of course, had a Cafe Au Lait poster in your room, Matthew, in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the mirror scene, they had to shoot with two actors. The taxi driver scene, they shot with two actors because the camera's right behind them and the camera would see the camera. Because that's what you see in mirrors. They reflect the things that
things that are opposite them. Yes.
Yeah.
They did a brilliant job. You certainly don't. You don't even think it really. You don't even think it's happening until a minute after the scene's over, and then you're like, wait, where was the camera? They do a really convincing job.
Was Dracula?
Which is Huh?
Dracula was the camera operator. That's why.
Right.
Yeah.
And the camera itself
The camera
was
itself
invisible because he was touching it.
Was a
Because Dracula was
vampire.
touching the camera.
the camera.
Anything that Dracula touches is invisible. I forgot. Okay.
Well, when Dracula goes invisible, you don't see his clothes either. Like he doesn't have to be naked
True.
to be invisible.
His Ariflex would be invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's another film reference because that's a reference to the Marx Brothers.
What? Oh my God! There you go.
Thank you. You're welcome for that. So I'm gonna recast this. I'm gonna do a nerd version of this,
Okay.
and I'm gonna cast. I'm gonna update it and put it like it's a remake, but it's updated to any kind of modern city that has had a crisis like this, like riots or some kind of social upheaval. So, but I'm gonna have 3 women go through this experience together, 3 friends. And I was saying like to myself, well, who maybe we get like Elia Shawkat, and we get Taylor Page, and we get Agatha Roussel from Titane playing the Vinz Cassel part. And let them go through it more of like a slightly heavier on the kind of stoner comedy part, like version of this. That's how I would do it. Oh, my double bill? My double bill's going to be. I think my double bill has to be Attack the Block.
I don't know it.
Well, clearly that went over well.
Well, I'm sure it's brilliant. I just don't know the movie, so I can't go. Oh,
Silent.
Well, I could pretend that I know the movie and go, "Oh yeah, Attack the Block." That I hadn't thought of that. That
Well, if you listen to my other podcast, you might have heard of it.
I'm a big fan of yours. You know that.
You can't butter yourself out of this one, man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I am. I'm humiliated. I didn't know this movie, and I can't. I mean, I think we should talk about Drive, a few months, and have you come back and talk about Drive, because that's another movie I could talk about for days.
Okay.
Please. I would
put
love
that on
to.
the schedule. But for next week, a friend of mine has been begging me that we cover Hard Times with Charles Bronson.
Oh, you got it.
What do you think of that for next week?
Next week, that might be tough. We'll negotiate when that's going to be, because I'm going to be in Los Angeles traveling and visiting people. And if I can do a show, I'd love to.
Well, not movie, Hard Times. That makes
Sorry.
sense? 1975's Hard Times.
Ilya saying in-person live show. Perhaps, Ilya. Maybe so.
Perhaps. We
Keep
might not
this,
be able to, in terms of the schedule, we might not be able to put that together.
Let's not talk bad news during the show. Let's say yes, and then be like, yeah, it's all going to happen. Hey, and then not do it. And then what are they going to do to us?
Disappoint people.
Hey.
No, we did it. You missed it. How did you miss it?
Totally down to do that movie. Yeah, sure. That could be our next one, whenever it is.
Great.
I will say one thing about Drive that doesn't give away anything from the movie is the first I ever saw of Drive was a specific scene, a very dark scene. And it was me sitting in the back of my father's classroom. And I saw it on the screen for the first time. Didn't know what movie it was from.
Oh, dear.
The elevator scene.
The elevator scene.
Oh, no. You saw
was
the elevator scene as a little kid? Oh, God.
as a little
That's why-
kid sitting
Well, you
in
weren't
his
that.
class.
It was about. You were about 13.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was 13, and I love watching his classes, so I was sitting in the back on my computer, just like listening and stuff. And then whenever the lights went out, I would like shut my computer and watch whatever scene was on the TV.
Yeah.
And then I watched Drive, and I didn't even know what it was from. And I was like,
Oh,
wait,
you were-
I've seen this.
you had
And I started
you had a
like,
stress callback.
Yeah.
It's a
I started
PTSD callback.
everything that I heard you talking about the technical stuff and about like why they did all the technical stuff. And it was kind of cool because I got the background before I knew the story, and then I got to like put it all together.
Well, look, you're living proof that 13 years old is clearly not too young to be exposed to horrific screen violence. It's just not.
It's not. Well, I was 9 years old when I watched live Hungry Joe get chopped in half by an airplane wing in Catch 22.
Which to this day is one of the most messed up things I've ever seen in a movie.
When he gets chopped in half?
Yeah, it really is. It's like you don't know how they do it. Even with CGI, it would be well done.
Yeah, no, they did a good job. They
Alexis says she was 11 when she saw Midnight Cowboy.
Oh,
good night. God. Good night, everybody.
And Sophia was 8.
That explains so much about the two of you.
Oh, dear.
I love the combination, and I hope that Louise, Sophia and Alexis's mother, is hearing me say this. The combination of extreme protectiveness that she has and psychological abuse at the same time.
You know, I hear I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come out and say it. Like movies the way that Sophia and Alexis like movies. Try and stop them. So I think that really what the situation is, like, the most I can do here is put some bumpers on this, maybe like a couple of guardrails, but they're going to see the movie. Clearly they're going to see the films. All I've heard is that she's kind of been like, not yet on a couple of them, like a couple of David Lynch movies, which I'm like, probably a good idea. Probably smart.
There you go.
So,
I don't think I should have seen Climax, but I saw it.
I don't think you should have either, actually. I don't think I should have. There are things in that I shouldn't have seen. That stuff with the kid in the bathroom locked in that closet, I couldn't. I don't think I can't. Certainly that's a one-timer, that movie. Like, that's not. Yeah. Don't think I'm going back.
Think about the fact that he was locked in there, and there was a scene earlier where he was sipping the punch.
No, I can't.
Wait a second. I don't even know anything about this movie.
You don't want to know about Gaspar Noé, Matthew. He's not a filmmaker horrible. You would like. This is like a Night of the Living Dead level freak out. Don't want to see it be in the theater with like really high end art photography and it's designed to. It's
FaceTime me after, Dad. I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we stay.
Looks just like that.
We stick around in the green room and chat after the show, so don't disappear after the sign off.
There are a few movies that need to come with like real warnings, and that's Climax is one of them. All of Gaspar Noé's movies are, though. Tread with caution, Abby, because some of them are actually worse than that.
Oh God!
All right. Well,
yeah, honestly,
I think we've covered it. We're gonna do whenever we can do our next show. We're gonna do Hard Times, Charles Bronson.
I rate this movie a 10 out of 10. Go watch it.
Yeah, Abby's rating, 10 and 10.
This movie goes to 11. So do what Abby says. Go watch it.
And we will see you next week or whenever we are able to come back to your screens. Have a good one.
Talking about cocktails that are stylish, movies great or phony, and how Tony should win, and Matthew should win a Tony. But in the meantime, talking about film in the meantime, the Arkin brothers talk about movies.